Malaysia's Sultan Abdullah ibn Sultan Ahmad Shah is now officially the new ruler of Pahang. Sultan Abdullah took the oath this week in a ceremony steeped in tradition at the Istana Abu Bakar Palace in the royal town of Pekan. Sultan Abdullah succeeded his ailing father, Paduka Ayahanda Sultan Ahmad Shah, 88, who abdicated the throne after reigning for nearly 45 years. Article 9A of the amended state constitution empowered the Royal Council to conduct the abdication of a ruler due to ill health. In his first royal address as the sixth modern Sultan of Pahang, the ruler called for greater cooperation among all quarters, including the state government and the people, in a bid to make Pahang more prosperous. To his subjects, Sultan Abdullah pledged that he will be in place for the people to seek shelter during times of disaster and sorrow. After the ceremony, Sultan Abdullah and his consort Tunku Aziza departed from the throne room. Sultan Abdullah married Tunku Aziza on March the 6th, 1986, and the royal couple has 6 children. Sultan Abdullah has a deep interest in the military, and this was evident when he was made a second lieutenant at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, England, where he was commissioned by Queen Elizabeth II in 1980. Sultan Abdullah is known to put the interest of the people above all else. Senior North Korean diplomats may be on their way to Washington. That's according to South Korean media reports this week. They say a meeting was expected between Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and top North Korean official Kim Yong-chol in D.C. And the main topic? Probably the details of a second summit between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. While it doesn't appear set in stone yet, the possible meeting does follow a recent pattern of interaction between the two sides, as Reuters' Josh Smith explains from Seoul.
There are increasing signs that U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un do want to meet in the near future. A high-level meeting between officials on both sides would indicate that both sides are trying to make more progress ahead of that meeting.
If the D.C. meeting does take place, the reports say they'll also work out some stopgap measures designed to push North Korea along on the road to denuclearization while waiting for summit number 2. The U.S. Embassy in Seoul did not immediately comment on the reports, and a State Department official said there were no currently meetings to announce. Thailand's Agriculture Ministry seeded clouds in the eastern Rayong province as the Thai Air Force sprayed 3,000 litres of water over Bangkok in an effort to curb the hazardous air pollution. The level of dangerous dust particles, known as PM 2.5, exceeded the safe level in 30 of 50 Bangkok's districts for days. PM 2.5 is a mixture of liquid droplets and solid particles that can include dust, soot and smoke. It is one of the main pollutants included in measuring the Air Quality Index, AQI. Pollution in Bangkok has reached unhealthy levels before, usually during the dry season between January and March, but it doesn't normally hang around too long. Residents have voiced concerns as the N95 face masks were sold out because of high demand. The Department of Pollution Control said diesel fumes from cars contributed to 50 to 60% of the pollution, while burning rubbish and crops attributed to about 35%. A Belarusian model and escort who caused a stir last year after she was arrested in Thailand and said she had evidence of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election was released from prison this week. Anastasia Vashukevich, who goes by the name Nastya Rybka online, was arrested along with fellow Belarusian Alexander Kirillov and a group of Russians during a raid on a seminar in February 2018. The pair appeared in court along with 6 Russian associates, facing multiple charges, including conspiracy, soliciting and working without a permit. They pleaded guilty and will now be deported. After her arrest, Vashukevich had said she would hand over hours' worth of audio recordings that could shed light on links between Russian officials and U.S. President Donald Trump's election if the United States granted her asylum. She claimed her link was to Oleg V. Deripaska, a Russian oligarch who had alleged close ties to President Vladimir Putin and Trump's campaign manager. In an interview with the New York Times in August, Vashukovich said she no longer had plans to make the recordings public.
I will see when I go out from airport.
The Saudi teenager who fled her family by escaping on a Thailand-bound plane says her ordeal was worth the risk. 18-year-old Rahaf Mohammad Al-Kunun grabbed international attention last week after she barricaded herself in a Bangkok airport hotel room and begged not to be sent home. She is now in Canada after its government agreed to take her in. Kunun was seeking asylum away from a family she claims controlled and abused her, something they deny. Kunun's bid for freedom has triggered the support of some Saudi women who say they are in similar situations. Kunun says she wants her story to become a catalyst for change for other Saudi women.
And its conservative guardianship system, where male relatives. Kunun's bid for freedom has triggered the support of some Saudi women who say they are in similar.
China's second child policy has failed to meet expectations as the 2018 birth rate dropped more than 13%. That means the total number of babies born last year was less than 15 million. China adopted the second child policy to encourage all couples to have 2 children at the start of 2016 to counter population aging and the country's dwindling workforce. In the first year of the second child policy, 17.86 million babies were born. However, the momentum failed to keep up in the following 2 years. Experts say this is due to several reasons: the rising costs of healthcare and cost of living, delayed marriage, and lack of incentive for having more babies. The first biological experiment on the moon's far side is underway on China's Chang'e 4 lunar exploration probe. A team of scientists from the Chongqing University has sent a small biological payload aboard the probe, which landed on the lunar surface on January 3rd. Weighing below 3 kilograms, the tin of the biological payload carries 6 passengers, including seeds of cotton, potatoes, Arabidopsis and rape seeds, as well as fruit fly pupa and yeast. There are animal, plants and microorganisms in this payload, creating a micro-ecosystem in a closed environment, which they use to guide the sunlight to the inside of the tin, which is much stronger than that on the Earth. Xi Gangxin, chief designer of the biological experiment payload of the Chang'e 4 lunar mission, said they would study their photosynthesis under strong sunlight and compare it with the experiment on Earth. The lunar environment features low gravity, bright sunlight and radiation. Professor Xi said the water inside the payload has been released and the seeds will soon sprout. To better understand how the plants and animals grow in different environments, scientists have also set up 2 identical payloads on Earth, which started simultaneously with the one on the moon. Researchers from the Chongqing University are now monitoring the growth data 24 hours a day and recording the latest conditions accordingly. There is no air or oxygen on the moon, and the temperature is always very extreme, over 100 degrees Celsius in the daytime and more than 100 degrees Celsius below freezing at night. Even if some of them leaked, they would have no chance to survive, said researchers. Regardless of the results, Xi said the team has opened a new chapter in space experiments. He said that after the project's completed, they will study the data carefully, summarize the experience, and prepare for their next biological experiment. Apple's mobile phones are recently going through a price reduction wave on the Chinese market due to the company's weak business performance, with the latest iPhone model dropping as much as 1,400 yuan, about $207 in some places. Due to the unexpected low sales, Apple's mobile phones experienced a big price cut in the Chinese market. In an electronics store in Shanghai, all the iPhone products from iPhone 7 to the latest model XS Max have been labeled with a price drop. People's Apple craze is on the run, so we have to lower the price to ensure sales, said an owner of the electronics store. The reason behind the price drops is that more people have turned to homemade brands, said one resident. Various Chinese major e-commerce platforms have also launched price reduction strategies, selling some iPhones $354.9 cheaper than on Apple's official website. Some residents, however, said that the price reduction is still not enough and that it should be reduced by at least 30% to make it worth buying. Penguins from Harbin Polaland, an Arctic-themed aquarium in the northeastern Chinese city, were brought to a nearby outdoor enclosure for a promotional event during the city's annual ice festival. With temperatures at around minus 15 degrees centigrade, 6 Gen 2 penguins were released for 15 minutes into the outdoor enclosure. There they walked and slid on snow and ice for the benefit of visitors before returning to their indoor homes, where the temperature is a little warmer at just below freezing. A representative from Harbin Polaland told Reuters that this event was a form of training for the penguins and enabled them to experience nature. Polaland has organised similar outdoor forays for penguins in the past, and the aquarium plans to do so again during this year's ice festival. Take 2. The festival has drawn millions of visitors from around the world every year since its inception in the early 1980s. Highlights of the festival this year include sled rides on the Songhua River, mass weddings, and towering sculptures of ice and snow, carved by thousands of artists and workers. Korea has been hit by severe smog for days now. Authorities in the Seoul metropolitan area have implemented emergency measures to fight high concentration dust levels. This street is usually crowded on weekends, but last weekend it was deserted. Those few who braved the smog make sure to wear protective masks. This skating rink in downtown Seoul has been closed. Cleaning trucks move endlessly to remove as much dust as possible. Air pollution emergency measures were implemented in the Seoul metropolitan area for the first time this year last week, as the average ultrafine dust concentration level surpassed 50 micrograms per cubic meter for 2 consecutive days. Authorities launched crackdowns on car emissions and idling vehicles at bus parking lots. Air quality in Korea is expected to deteriorate further due to a massive inflow of air pollutants from China. Last year, severe smog was observed in Seoul for 61 days, which means the South Korean capital is shrouded in severe smog 2 months of the year. The Ministry of Environment will enact a special law on air pollution on February the 15th. Once the new law takes effect, the restriction on older diesel cars, which is currently valid in Seoul only, will be expanded to Gyeonggi-do province and Incheon as well. "92 couples tied the knot at a mass wedding ceremony in India's western Gujarat city recently. With spiralling wedding costs, many young Indians struggle to afford a wedding celebration, particularly those who do not have parents to pay the bill. But in India's Surat, the local community came together to give a helping hand during a ceremony for young women who had been raised in orphanages or had lost a parent. The brides were decked out in full traditional clothing in red and gold colours, with flowers in their hair and golden bangles and henna tattoos on their hands, while the men were dressed largely in white with floral garlands around their necks. One of the brides at the ceremony, Sheikh Nagma Bano Shaukat, said the brides had received gifts ahead of the ceremony and had been wished well by members of the community. Participants from over 45 countries have taken part in the 30th edition of the International Kite Festival in India's Ahmedabad city, in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home state of Gujarat. The festival, which continued for 8 days, saw the participation of hundreds of members from across the globe, filling Ahmedabad's sky with vibrant hues. Another important aspect of the festival is the competition, where participants are asked to show their skills in cutting the thread supporting other kites. The annual kite flying festival, which marks the start of spring and coincides with the Uttarayan, the country's largest kite festival, during which the skies over most cities of Gujarat state fill with kites from before dawn until well after dark. Japan's Coast Guard officials have come across 2 men on a wooden boat drifting in the Sea of Japan off Aomori Prefecture in northeastern Japan. The men are believed to have come from North Korea. A local fishing cooperative informed the Coast Guard of the boat's presence. It was drifting about 1.5 kilometers off the town of Fukaura. Coast Guard officers said they transferred the two men from the 10-meter-long boat onto a Japanese vessel. They said both of them spoke Korean. The men reportedly said 3 other crew members fell into the sea during the storm after an engine failure. The men are said to have told Japanese officials that they had left a North Korean port in mid-December and want to return home. Meanwhile, another boat was spotted near Okinoshima town, an island in western Japan. Police took 4 crew members into protective custody. They appeared to range in age from teenagers to men in their 30s. Investigation sources say the men spoke to them in Korean, saying they had left North Korea in early December. Fishing equipment was found in their boat, which had a damaged engine. Such boats believed to be from North Korea have been frequently spotted along the Sea of Japan coast.
Okay.
A group of young people in western Japan has marked a rite of passage by climbing steps to the top of the country's tallest building. Coming of Age Day, a national holiday that honors people reaching age 20, marks the legal start of adulthood in Japan, with ceremonies across the country. In Osaka City, a group of 20-year-olds marked the occasion by going to the top of the 300-meter Abino Harukas under the motto, "Let's Step to Adulthood." Over 100 participants wrote down their hopes for the future on a white sash and ascended the 1,637 steps wearing kimonos or new suits. They made it to the top of the 60-story building in about an hour. A woman in a long-sleeve kimono said that although the ascent was harder than expected, she and her friends are able to make it up by cheering each other on.
To see the 2-year-old girls in the full plane.
With a heat wave stifling southeastern Australia, the best place to be, as elephants Luk Chai and Pathi Harn discovered, is in the water. It's not just animals feeling the pressure. Many Australians also took to water parks and the sea to keep cool. They've been warned to avoid exerting themselves outdoors and to drink lots of water, as record temperatures in parts of the country look set to linger and even increase over the coming days. Parts of New South Wales, Australia's most populated state, and an area of Western Australia saw record high minimum temperatures of 33 degrees Celsius overnight. The maximum is expected to soar to more than 45 degrees Celsius in parts of New South Wales, South Australia and Victoria, the Bureau of Meteorology said. Australians were spotted lending a helping hand or a cooling sprinkler to their local wildlife as a sweltering heat wave scorches the country's southeast. Video shared with Reuters showed a koala in Springfield, a suburb of Adelaide, keeping cool in the heat with a nearby garden sprinkler. Other posts on social media showed people leaving water outside for the country's wildlife.